Good morning, guys. How are you doing? I am here with the lovely Mr. Coop, who's looking like a right fluffy teddy bear. I'm popping on quickly because I started watching the video clip I took earlier, realising that I did not explain what these exercises are about at all, right? So I've got 3 really good pole/jump exercises that are brilliant for helping improving your horse's canter for when it comes to jumping. That being said, these exercises are great whether you jump or not. So if you've got a dressage horse, I still recommend doing them. You can just do the pole version if you choose not to jump. Let's get back to my video. I have done it more specifically towards jumping, but that being said, I really do think it suits all horses. And as usual, it doesn't matter whether you're on a youngster or an older horse, you can adjust these to suit them. Not impressed about this weather today. Trying really hard to try and film this when it's not raining. And I tacked up in the dry now. It started raining again. This blinking weather. What's also great with these exercises is that you don't actually need that many poles. In fact, 2 of them, you only need 2 poles, and 1 of them you need 5, but you could make it 3 if needed. So you don't need to have tons and tons of show jumps hanging around. I am going to be riding Mr. Coop in a hackamore simply because he lost a tooth a week ago, and I'm still just being a little bit careful about putting the bit in. I mean, it's a front tooth, so it wouldn't affect the bit anyway, but it's just nicer. I think it's nicer while that keeps healing up. Not impressed about this weather. Why does it keep raining? I've just seen as well that they've said there's a storm coming tomorrow. Honestly, we're going to be swimming everywhere. The lengths you'll go to film a vlog. I've made my phone a little house. Let's hope this works. First up, I've got a really simple exercise, which I'm sure most of you have done before, and that is being able to adjust your horse's canter stride between 2 poles or 2 fences. Now, I've chosen to build this on a curving line to make it that little bit harder. So I've walked 5 of Corporal's normal canter strides in between the 2 poles, and throughout this exercise, I adjusted them to ride it on 4 strides, then 6, and then in between that, popping back to the normal 5 strides. Now, this is such a good exercise for the rider because it really helps them understand their horse's stride length. It teaches the rider adjustability, so making sure that they can ride their horse forward and stay in the same rhythm, as well as collecting them and staying in the same rhythm. With the safety at the fact that you're only doing it over poles or small jumps, so that if anything does go wrong, it's not going to matter. For a horse, this is a great way of really firing up their hindquarters, making sure they're taking that weight behind, because the back and forth within the canter is a great exercise for really getting your horse to sit. Now, also, it's great for making sure your horse is in front of your leg and that they are listening to your aids. And if a horse does struggle with this exercise, then it just tells you that perhaps you need to keep working on developing and strengthening their canter. So the next exercise is a really simple one, but great if you want to work on being able to maintain your horse's balance and rhythm when jumping so that they don't rush before or after the fence. So I will add, at this point, I was having a few issues with Coop because obviously he's in the hackamore, didn't have a lot of control, so I couldn't really stop him and I couldn't really turn him. So that's why we had some fun and games going through this. But you can see I've got 2 canter poles at the top corner down to a small single fence, and then another 2 canter poles in the next corner. And the great thing about this exercise is if you have got a horse that likes to rush before or after the fence, this really helps you maintain a balanced rhythm either side of the jump. It also stops your horse from falling in or drifting after a fence. It's quite common for horses to land from the jump and sort of drift out. This also made the rider ride well after the fence. It's very easy to be a bit sloppy once you jump to jump. Never has an exercise been harder to do. I can't even see what I'm doing through my glasses at all. And I imagine the footage, it's so grey and dark, I imagine the footage is going to be absolutely rubbish. But that is such a good exercise. Do you know what, the last time I went through that on Corp, he slowed himself down because he knew the poles were coming up. I didn't have to take a pull. I'm back again. So we're now on the last exercise, which is the cantaloupe jump. And I think this exercise is so good and has so many benefits. However, Mr. Coop and I did not do a very good job of showcasing it whatsoever. By this point, all control and steering had gone absolutely out the window. I had no control over him whatsoever. He was having a great time, but he was not listening to me one little bit. And this exercise didn't really fit in my school. I'm on a 30 by 30 at home. You need a 20 by 40 or a 20 by 60 preferably to make this work really well. It's very simple. You just want to do a shallow cantaloupe round a pole on your approach to a fence. So I do the shallow cantaloupe and then I probably leave myself maybe 4 to 6 strides then to the fence. And what's great about this is cantaloupes are a great way to improve your horse's engagement, their balance and their rhythm. If you've got quite a fiery horse, one that gets quite excited when it sees the fence, likes to rush, adding a shallow canter looping can really stop them from being able to rush, because obviously they've physically got to do a bit of a curved line. It balances them. It allows you as a rider to keep your legs on and keep moving forward, which can be so difficult when you're riding a fiery horse. Like instantly you want to take your legs off because they're trying to run away with you. So this makes you put your legs back on. It gives you that balance that you need when jumping, and actually it works for any horse at any level. You could do this just as poles as well, so if you want to do it from a dressage point of view, you don't have to jump, but I quite like it as a jumping exercise. And if I had a long arena, I would probably add a shallow canter loop before and after the fence, because quite often once the horse has jumped, they tend to dive off around the corner, or they get a bit excited. Corporal especially, he's worse after the fence. Once he jumped the fence, he tends to take off with me. So adding another canter looping can be a great way to getting some control back over your horse, finding that balance. But have a little look at the bad job I just did. So you can see I just don't have the room to do a proper loop. But one of the benefits I also find to doing canter loops before the fence is it really helps keep the horse nice and straight. They don't tend to lose their hindquarters as much on the approach to the fence. But you can see once I've jumped the fence, there's very little room the other side either before I'm literally at the fence. So I can sort of doing a half job here. He actually did it all right on the left rein, but when we came to the right rein, I didn't seem to have anywhere near as much control. And you can see as I come out for the loop, I can't go back in because there's no space left in the arena, and he just gets more and more excited as I go along.